Hi students, it's time for art, and first thing, let's start with Godzilla of the Week. So last time you remember we voted and Baragon won first place and Godzilla 62 won second place, so I figured he's going to be this week's Godzilla. But this week we will have a survey, so you could fill it out and vote on a new Godzilla for next week. But for today, Godzilla 62. Now he's pretty cool. He's pretty big. This is one of my... Okay, so here you can see him. Back up a little. He's pretty rad. He's huge. It's like the size of a small dog. So this Godzilla is from 1962, and that was the year they did Godzilla vs. King Kong. And that was a pretty epic movie, but if you look at the special effects at the time, they weren't that great. They were pretty weak. They got a new Godzilla vs. King Kong coming out, which I'm sure will have mega awesome special effects, right? But anyways, the nice thing about this Godzilla was he was really, really different looking. He's really chonky, as you can see. He's huge. He's kind of like a sumo wrestler, which is kind of fun. And his head is more like a lizard. So I don't know. He's got more of like an alligator head instead of like a dinosaur head. I don't know. But he's really cool. He's got a nice big long tail. He's a lot of fun. And he definitely has a distinct look from the other years. Like, I don't know if you remember Godzilla 89. Way different than this one, right? So anyways, he's pretty cool. There's a nice big model kit that I purchased probably 20 years ago. It's long gone. They don't make these anymore. This is one of my favorites because it's so big and it's so interesting. And they have a lot of details. And like right here, like they even include this little strip. This is like this in the original Godzilla costume. Like this would open up and there'd be a zipper there, right? So it's kind of cool that they even include some of those kind of cheesy details, but they give Godzilla a lot of charm, like this version of Godzilla. So anyways, here he is. He's got a close up here. Oh yeah, there we go. That's pretty cool. He's pretty sweet. So anyways, that's one of my favorite models. So that's it for Godzilla of the Week. So let's get into the art portion of this video. Hi, fifth graders. Today we have a shorter video because I'm gonna talk about, we're just gonna color this thing. So you're gonna color it. But before we do that, let's talk about some no-names. I have some beautiful no-name projects that got turned in, and I don't know who they belong to. So if you see if this belongs to you, you're like, oh, Mr. Smith, whatever number that is, that belongs to me. Okay? So let's see here. What do we have? Okay, so no one has claimed this one yet. So let's see. I've got number 1 Starbucks coffee. This is awesome, but it's a no-name. So this currently has a missing grade. So if this is number 1, so if you think this is me, send me an email and say, Mr. Smith, the number 1 Starbucks drawing, that one's mine. And I'm like, okay, and then I'll put your grade in, right? Here's a perspective one, and I don't know who it is. It might have come from Cool Nay's class. So if this belongs, I don't know. So if this is you, this is number 1 perspective. So if you think this one's yours, so you send me an email and say, oh, Mr. Smith, number 1 VCS perspective, that one's mine. I'm like, okay. And then, tell me your name if it doesn't show up in your email. I think they usually do. And then here I've got, here's a Starbucks one, and I have 2 of them, right? But I don't know who it belongs to. So this one's number 3. So you're like, oh yeah, that one's mine. So just send me an email and say the Starbucks doodle number 3, that one's mine, Mr. Smith, and then I can put your name on it and I can give you a grade. Okay? And then finally, I got some beautiful scratch fishes that have no names. So I got this beautiful one. Oh yeah, that one's mine. So this one's gonna be number 1 scratch fish. So does this belong to you? This is number 1. Number 1. Is that yours? Let me know. Say yes. I'm number 1. Here's number 2. I don't know who this is. Are these initials? I don't know. I don't know who that is. Oh, Wise? Ooh, this might be Isaiah Wise. Do I have an Isaiah Wise? I think I do. But if not, this is number 2. This I just figured out. I never saw the WIS. I never saw the ISE. I just saw this. I'm like, I don't know who that is. I Wise. Okay, so that might be Isaiah, so I might know who you are. And then whose is this? That one's cool, but I don't know who it is. So this will be number 3. Did I do number 2 for this one? Yeah. So this one's number 3. Okay, so number 3. Is this one yours? Send me an email. Say, yeah, Mr. Smith, I'm number 3 fish, scratch fish. Okay. So, we're back on this, right? And last week I showed you, it's tricky. I showed you how to trace your design, and then you kind of filled it in, you drew it, and this is our kaleidoscope design. Now, some of you might think, oh, Mr. Smith, I can't do it. It's hard. It is kind of hard. But it's hard for me to help you because I'm not like with you in class. It's hard for me to help you. So just ask your parent or parents, say, hey, if you can't, let's say you couldn't do this part. You couldn't finish it last week. Just ask your parent, say, parent, and you'll say their mom, dad, or whoever they are, grandpa, whoever you're with. You'll be like, parent, I love you. Can you please help me? And what you do is, and then you'll be like, I got this video. And they're like, I don't want to watch that 40-minute video. I don't blame them. I don't want to say that I'm like one of those parents, but that's a lot. Like, to asking your parent to watch a 40-minute video, that's a long time. And if they watch that video with you, man, they're awesome. That's a nice parent you have there. But just say parent, and you'll use their name. Don't call them parent. They'll kill me. Just say mom, dad, uncle, grandpa, whoever they are. You say, can you just watch the first 10 minutes of this video and then help me figure out how to do this? I can't do it. They only need to watch the first 10 minutes. So you watch the first 10 minutes, and hopefully they can try to help you. Like, you might watch the video and you're like, I don't get it. But then sometimes if different people watch it, they might be like, oh yeah, I kind of know how to do that. Like, they might know, and then they might be able to show you. They might be able to help you get to this part. But you want to get to this part. You want to finish it. So have your mom, dad, uncle, whoever they are, parent, help you if you need help doing this. Okay? Now for this week, we're just going to color it in. Now we have 3 weeks for this. So if you finish this, take your time. It takes a while to finish it up. But if you finish and you're like, okay, now I'm kind of done. If you're behind in some of your other art projects, you can work on those too, right? So, but we're just going to color this. Now you can use crayons. Crayons are the least desirable. They look the worst. So markers look good, and colored pencils look good. They look the best. But if you don't have markers, or if your markers are all out of ink, but you have some good crayons, that's fine. But you can use markers, colored pencils, and if you don't have those, crayons, right? But you want to color neatly and carefully. Now, if you're going to use crayons, you want to trace all of your shapes in thin black marker first, because black marker will not work on crayon because it's waxy. You're like, I'm not paying attention, Mr. Smith. I know you're not. But if you do pay attention, some of you are really carefully paying attention. Great. If you're going to use crayons, you want to get a thin marker and you want to trace this stuff first. If you're using crayons, because they're waxy, and this won't work very well on top of crayons. Okay? But if you're going to use markers, so here I'll do this. It goes like this. It goes thin Sharpie, and if you don't have a thin Sharpie, sometimes you have a thin, like here I got some thin, please tell me I have my black in here. Yeah, here's my black. Okay, so Sometimes they have thin Crayolas. This will work great too, and so you can trace those things. You know, I'm going to trace a couple shapes. We'll experiment to see how it can mess up. But you want to trace all your shapes in thin black. Let's say you don't even have those. Let's say all you have is like a... There's some pens, not a blue ballpoint, but sometimes you have like a... just like a thin pen that's used to sign checks, and it's black. You can use those. Sometimes they have ink. Anyways, but you want to trace this if you're going to do crayons first. But if you're going to do markers, you actually want to do all the marker color first, then trace all the shapes in black. Because what will happen is this black, if you get color in there, it'll kind of smear it. Let me show you. We do orange. Let me see if it, maybe it won't be so bad. I don't know, we'll find out. But sometimes it does. But what we want to do is we want to color in all of our shapes, and you want to color them the same way. It's a kaleidoscope, right? So like for this little diamond shape, if this is going to be orange, I'm going to color all those diamond shapes orange. So watch me show you. Let's see if it... This is too thin. This will take forever. But you could use thin markers if you have them. I have the thicker ones, right? And if you don't have markers, you can usually get these pretty cheap at Target. You want to go to Target anyway. Say, hey mom, can I get some markers? Here's what you do. If your mom is fed up with you, let's see if this is gonna... Let's see what happens here. So usually what happens is the black kind of smears with your crayon, or not your crayon, your marker. So what I recommend is you just color in, yeah. I recommend that you color, well, it doesn't look too bad. Yellow's really bad. If you use yellow and there's black, like yellow next to a black outline, it'll get kind of dark. But here's what I want to tell you. You want to pick out all the parts you want to be orange. So like if I'm like, I want this part to be orange, and you're going to very carefully, be careful. You can color it in, right? Notice how I outlined it first. That usually helps. I mean, you don't have to outline it, but it helps. You know, and then you can just color that same spot everywhere on your page. That way you get it right. You want all the similar shapes to be colored the same. If you mess up and do one different, just keep going. Don't worry about it. Like you're not going to start over or anything, but just your goal is to try to make all those shapes the same. You might even have more than one thing orange. Like maybe I want this thing to be orange too. And because it's like half here, I can just color this whole thing. Like I want this whole thing to be orange. It might be easier. Like when you use these thick markers, you want to be careful. It's because it has a thick chisel, and sometimes you can go outside the lines. So you want to... I was trying to be extra careful, and I don't know when because I knew that would happen, but you may not know that happens. So you just want to be careful. Maybe here, I'll show you. Maybe just try to but I could color that. Maybe I'll skip that one, but I go to this one, the one on the edge. You know, but what I could do is I could do this. I could like very carefully go around the edge first. That way I kind of have like a border to help me color in. Can you even see what I'm doing? My hand is in the way of the camera. I can only have my camera over there. Okay, but then I fill it in with the thicker part of the chisel. And you want to try to go in the same direction. It makes it look neater. Can't stress that enough. And you don't want to have any white spots either. You want to make sure you kind of fill them all in. So then I would go here, I would do the next one. I would go here, do the next one. Now some of you are kind of clever, and you're like, oh, like if I'm doing this thing, it just kind of goes all the way around. Can I just color that whole thing around? Of course. So like you might do something like this. Like I'm just gonna color this whole, it looks like a star shape. I'm just gonna color this whole star shape in at the same time because it's all gonna be orange, right? Or whatever color you pick. You can pick whatever colors you like, right? But no white. So no white in this. You're like, oh, can I have everything white? No, no white. So I want you to color everything in. If you want, yeah, so have color. Everywhere's color. So like it's kind of hard to fill in all this. I recommend a lighter color. Like make sure you have a marker that has a lot of ink to do the background. Like whatever the background is, make sure you have a lot. Another thing you can do though is see, that's the biggest problem with these markers is that they run out of ink. So if you're worried about that, you can combine. If you have colored pencils and markers, you can combine them. In my opinion, though, it looks better if it's all the same. Okay? So if you really like colored pencils, do everything in colored pencils. If you like your markers and they look really good, do everything in markers. The only time you would kind of combine them is if you knew like, oh boy, these markers are running out of ink, and if I try to do the background, it's not going to look good because I'm going to run out of marker. So if that is going to happen to you and you do have colored pencils, that's a good opportunity for a colored pencil, because colored pencils, you know, they don't run out. I mean, you can run out, like they run out of, you know, lead, but they usually don't run out as much as you know, as a marker. Okay, so anyways, and you're gonna pick different colors. So like, so I'm gonna simulate that. So let's see. I'm gonna pick. Usually it's good to pick. Oh, I'll do this. Usually a lighter color will look better in the background, like this yellow. Oh boy, this yellow is almost. I have to sharpen this yellow. But anyways, I could do this. So you could use. Now remember, you want it to be solid. I must have used this for my warped checkerboard. I don't remember because I'm running out of. Notice how I'm trying to go in the same direction. I'm going like towards the point. That helps it look neat. I could outline. You don't have to use yellow, but yellow is probably the easiest to do for a big background. Although maybe you're like, I don't want to do yellow. That's fine. Oh boy, it's going to take forever. But you can see, I have to sharpen this. I have to sharpen it. But you can see that I don't have to worry about my colored pencil running out of ink like those markers. And so that's why colored pencils are nice. Maybe you're like, can I just do the whole thing in colored pencils? Of course. In fact, that looks good. I'm not going to color this whole background, but I would color all my background yellow. And I'd have to sharpen this a bunch. I'd get like a little sharpener. I'd sharpen that. So, so that's what you want to do. I'm going with the colored pencil, man. Let's see. Let's try. I want some green in there. So remember, you're just going to do. You want to do all the similar things at the same time. So maybe I want this to be green. I want this thing to be green, and I guess that's it. So then I turn my. You know, maybe I'll make both of these green. Go along the edge. I'm going to go here. So let's see. Oh my gosh, I already forgot. It's this thing. Oh, how weird. Did I forget to do a shape here? I don't know. Maybe not. Okay. But I recommend you do the same, like all the same shape and color at the same time. Am I messing up? Nope. All right. And then maybe, you know, and I would go all the way around and do all my greens. Then it's like, okay, now I want to do blue. I don't know. What do I want to do blue? Boy, this blue's almost out. I used it for my warped checkerboard. Maybe I want this stuff to be blue. So I would go like... So again, you can edge it and fill it in. Oh, and then if all of this is going to be blue, I can just do it all together. Might be easier and faster. I want like this to be blue. Right? Kind of edge. Okay. But we're not done. So next week, once it's all, this week, all you have to do is color it. You're going to color the whole thing neatly as possible. Even this, I could be neater here. You just want it to be as neat as possible. Everything's neat. And then next week we'll talk about outlining everything. So once it's all colored, everything's colored in, then you'll take a very thin marker and you'll trace around it. But we'll talk about that next week. We have 3 weeks for this. So just color, right? Make sure your name is on the back, on the circle. Make sure your name's on the back, so that way I know that you did it right. And that's all we have to do. So you're going to color it neatly. I recommend markers or colored pencils. Colored pencils are kind of nice. They don't run out of ink. But if you have a new set, I have a newer set of these markers, so they're probably not going to run out that much. If you have a new set of markers, then great, use markers. Markers look nice. And if you have, it's better to use all markers or all colored pencils. But if you use markers for all your shapes, but your background and you're running out of ink in your markers, and you do have a colored pencil you want to use, go for it. You can use colored pencil for your background. But that's it. I mean, you just want to color this as neatly as possible. It's okay if they mix a little, but it's better to have it all marker or colored pencil. I leave it up to you. Just it needs to look neat and good and well colored. That's all. So take your time, color this. Maybe listen to some soothing music while you're coloring. And that's it. That's all we're doing this week. So next week we'll talk about outlining and doing some extra little doodads. And remember, you don't have to show me step by step. So don't show me this until it's all finished, like the 3rd week. Everything's done, traced, outlined, then you can take pictures of it and show me. I only need to see it when it's done. You don't have to show me week 1, week 2, week 3. I trust you that you're working on it. I just want to see the finished project. Otherwise, I got like a lot of things to keep track of, and it's easier to keep track of finished projects. I want to see it when it's finished. It's easier for me to grade it and keep track of it. So, but that's it. So I hopefully this is interesting. Hopefully you're able to draw this, and if not, I hope you got help from a parent, mom, dad, grandpa, or whoever. And hopefully it worked out very well. And I will see you next week. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.